Hey guys, I'm Adam, and this is Ursula, the Caravel Ursula. I'm going to do a tutorial on how to put new seals in it. I'm going to hand the phone over to my son Kobe here, which will be taking the video of the tutorial. Alright guys, first thing you want to do, I'm going to try to go through this real quick because I don't want it to be forever on a tutorial. You won't want that. I'm going to take off all the loose pieces. Unplug it, dump out the water. I'll be right back, Kobe. Alright, we'll do it right here at the table. Now I got these seals because they do not make them anymore from Francesco Cesarelli. A lot of you guys probably know that name because he has a lot of old machines, and he's one of the few people that can provide these little seal kits because they don't make them anymore, so he has compatible ones. And these are only like $7, so yeah, good on him. Let's take simple tools, just a screwdriver, a couple things. First thing you gotta do, take the top plastic off. Okay, and get close over here, Coach, so they can actually see what's going on. This is probably, I don't know, I wouldn't consider it very difficult. What's good to know about the Ursula here is that it has the same piston as the other Caravel that everybody likes so much. Now there are about, I believe, 3 or 4 different configurations of this piston, so I'm not sure how many the Caravel has, but they're all pretty similar. This is a manual one, not a spring operated one. This one here, for instance, this is a 0 watt, I think it's a 708, and it has a spring, and you can tell that the lever is up. This one's got the lever down. This is actually made by 0 watt, technically. It says Caravel, but it's the one that the same man made right after he made the 708, so I believe this is considered a CA 709, made by a couple different companies. So take this off. Be careful when you take these plastics off, they're impossible to find. Okay, next thing you gotta do, take these 4 screws off here. Again, I would suggest being careful with your screwdriver around this shiny metal. It's pretty easy to mess it up. Unfortunately, to change seals in this, you pretty much have to take the whole thing apart. But it only has 3 seals. It has one little seal on the top of the piston that allows some air pressure to be dispersed when you're pulling back up if you're going to do a Fellini move or just a double pull, and that way it doesn't mess up the puck. So that's pretty unique about this. Alright, now that you got that off, the boiler will almost come out. Let me show you something. Look down in here. Alright, this little sensor on the side here, you got to pull this off. Pretty easy, right? Alright, now we're going to flip it down. We're going to take 2 screws off the bottom. Come around here, Cub. The screws are also the feet. 1, 2. Has a little plate, comes off. Alright, now you have to take 2 wires off down here. First the ground, and it should be pretty obvious where this one goes, but you might want to take some pictures as you do this. And then the middle one off of the switch, the toggle switch from the side. So poof, gone. Now flip it back up. Make sure you don't lose any of your little screws here. And then the whole thing comes out. And there's one more wire on the bottom of this, I believe. Right here. Pop that off. It's easier to do when it's out. You can't hardly reach it when it's on the bottom. So, there it is, completely out. Now, we will come over to this table coat. I'll show you something. This handle, to take it off, you separate it. These things are from the 70s and 80s, so I'm not real sure about this plastic here, so be very careful when you pull it out of that cam. And you can also easily scratch up that metal too. So there it's off. There's that. Now, there's a catch pin on the bottom right here. And that holds in your screen. Easy to remove. The hard part is getting the screen out. Hold on one second, I'm going to grab a butter knife. This, in my opinion, is the hardest part about the entire rebuild. Somebody out there probably has an easier way than this, but I think most people, when they redo these, they put a new screen in. I'm not going to put a new screen in. Now, you can see the piston. On the top here, there's a little metal pin. Pops right out. Pull the entire assembly out. And all of the seals, and the O-rings, are actually in the sidewall of the cylinder. I don't know if you can see that, can you at all? See them? Alright. But there is one little one, like I said, that helps displace pressure when you do a double pull, and it's right in there. Now that one also has one more little catch ring. Can you see it down there? Okay. Just reach your little pliers in there. Do the exact same thing. Pulls right out. Now these are old, so I imagine they'd be pretty easy to break. Now see this? Comes right out. And this comes together with a little pin there too. Now, I've had this pretty clean, you can tell, so I don't need to clean it, but right now would be the time to get yourself a bath of CLR and clean everything up real well. But down in the very bottom, can you see that little seal? Right here? Okay, pop that out. Got it?
Yep.
Look up in there. So we'll put that there, and we'll put our new one in. Now you want to put some kind of food grade grease on these. Most people use a Dow. I think it's like a 111 or something. I use a Victoria's Secret lip gloss that is about the best grease I've ever used. Probably more expensive, than any dowel you could buy. Alright. Just put that thing right back down in there. Make sure it's seated good, and where it's seating is good and clean. Now, yeah, the seal fits perfect, and that's saying something from Francesco there. Thank you. All right, so now we want to put this back together. Oh boy, not my match cubby. All right. So now before you put this down in, grab your little catch ring. It might not matter. I'm going to put it back down in. You'll know pretty quick if your seal isn't seated well, because you won't be able to get into the groove for this catch ring. Pause that for a second so they don't have to sit here forever while I do this, Cubby.
I think it would be a better idea to keep going.
Okay, I'm back. I didn't want to waste your time watching me struggle with that. So I got that little catch pin back in there. And now we'll do the two seals inside. Again, they're right in the sidewall. There's one. There's two. Alright, I'll let Kobe show you a good picture of the inside of that while I lube my seals up. See if you can see the races there for those seals. Two. Okay, now, I've never put these in before, so I'm not sure how hard they are to get in. I guess if I was to guess on some advice, I'd say try to get the first one in the furthest channel. about to fit, but it's just it's perfect. So the second one ought to be a whole lot easier actually, because you're not trying to go past a groove. But if anybody can make it look hard, I can. Okay, I got them both in there, but I can see how that could take somebody forever. Alright, I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to grease up the outside of my piston just a little bit. So, we've taken it apart, we've got the new seals in. Now, when you put this back in, there's a way to do this wrong. You can be exactly wrong. So, while you have the screen out and you can see, make sure that it is in with the correct orientation before you put this whole thing back together, or I promise you will have to do it again. So take our little pin here, and I don't know if it's right or not yet. I just take a guess, and you got about a 50-50 shot at it. I'm sure there's a way. And lining this little pin back up can be a little bit difficult. But I'm going to put it in there actually temporarily for a second and put my handle back on. And of course, in the up position, we want the water to be able to go in, so we want the piston to be up. So what I'll do is I'll do a little test. Put it in, the piston's in the up. Okay, now when I go down, the piston goes down. So I guessed right. But I could have easily went a 180 on this and got it wrong. So now that I'm looking at it, it appears there's a hole right there. So that hole, if yours is the same, would go towards the face, and then you wouldn't run that risk. Alright, now I got to put the screen back in. Like I said, the screen on these, in my opinion, is the hardest thing. The rough side of the screen goes up into the machine, in case you forgot. Alright, that little method of putting the screen in works for me, but you might have a better idea. And then we have one more catch pin that holds the screen in. Put that in by hand, easy. So now you got everything back together. You have to put this back on. I got that grease all over my fingers and touching all the shiny stuff, so I'll be cleaning later. But see this? Don't put this on upside down. These little lips go up. That's because the plastic gets screwed onto that. So just sit that on there. Make sure that the handle's facing the right way. So the ergonomics of the handle means that it's supposed to be like that. Now we had the piston up. So spread it nice and easy. Don't scratch your metal. Feel around, you'll find it. Okay. Now let's feel it. Okay, it's operating correctly. So now we put it back in. So the first thing you want to do is put your little white wire back on. Basically doing this in reverse order. But in case you're as forgetful as me, you'll go now on this, come around here, Cubby, I want to show them something. Most of your problems putting this back together, this is where it's going to come from. These two studs down here, They just sit. This sits on those. This right here, this lip, see this lip right here, Kobe? This lip wedges in between these tabs. It has to be centered. It has to be straight. You'll never get the plastics back on if it's not. You put this thing most of the way in. Try to point your wires down, because a lot of the time you can get them coming out the front here, and then you'll be upset at yourself. And we all want you to feel good about yourself. So put the back in first. Make sure that your metal thing's in front. Get it down far enough to get your wire for your sensor out of the side. Okay, now I know that you can't hardly see this, Kobe, but maybe you can. See, I want them to see that tab go in between those other two tabs, and it really has to go there, or it will not go back. It will not completely go back together. I'm sorry, I'm trying to. There we go. See, and maybe you can get it at an angle over here. I know you can see.
I got it.
Did you get it? Okay. And make sure it's nice and centered. Now, you still have that sensor on the side. Mine seems to be caught up in something, so I'm going to have to take mine back out and take a look at this. See why my sensor is holding me up. Okay. Again, make sure your wires are in the right place. The back goes in first. Now that I have enough wire, I'm going to put my sensor on. You see over here? I'm putting my wire on my sensor while it's up part ways. And then I'm going in for the tabs. Okay, I'm in the tabs and I'm centered. Now, on the front here, before you do anything else, get your screwdriver and put these screws in. And if you have everything seated completely, you'll line up with those holes. And sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do. But it looks like we've got it. See if I can line up my other holes here. Well, that one's still loose. This can actually be what takes you the longest in the whole rebuild process. Just trying to get that boiler in square and getting these screws in just to line up these holes. But if you get this orientation of this handle wrong, you'll have to take the whole thing back apart. So make sure your piston travels the correct direction when you put the handle into the cam. And make sure that it's facing the right way, not upside down. I know this is boring. Do this as quickly as I can, guys. Alright, got them all tightened. Flip it onto its back. And now remember the ground. The yellow one goes back onto the ground. If I can do it. And then the switch wire, which might be the harder one if you got big fat fingers like I do. Make sure that one's nice and tight. Mine's a little loose. Alright, your bottom plate. And my feet have two little washers on them. I don't know if they all do or if somebody added that later to level this on their counter. Be interesting if any of you guys have one. You let me know. Alright. Now you might get to see me do this and you might not. I found that one of the hardest things to do is to put this plastic back on. We'll see if it pops on easy. If it does, you'll get to see the whole thing. If not, I won't waste your time. Remember to stay patient with this. It is very tight, and if you break it, it's very difficult to find another. And how easy this goes on will definitely be determined by how well you centered that boiler. So I got it on there. Once again, just 4 little screws. The first one I've completely lost. Don't try to over tighten any of this stuff in the plastics. The way that these things are threaded, you'll spin a screw out in a second. This one doesn't like me. Don't laugh at me. Alright guys. Plastic's back on, and you're all set. I hope that helped. I know I couldn't find an instructional video on the internet. So there it is. New seals in a Caravel. Like I said, it's the same piston group as the Ariax Caravel that everybody's used to, seeing. I believe, like I said, there's a few different versions of this particular piston. I think there's one that has the O-rings on the piston itself. Some of them have it on the sidewall. I'm not sure. This is the only one I own. But I do know that where I got the seals. And I'll promote them one more time since all of those seals fit perfect. Francesco Cesarelli. They were cheap, they fit perfect, and on his page he has a lot of information. I'm not sure if he has any instructional videos on this, but I do know he had pictures of this broke down. He had pictures, I think, of the 0 watt broke down. It's very helpful, so thank you again. I hope that helped, guys. Have a good night.